Hello to my friends out in YouTube land, the YouTube universe. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit and touch bases on the purpose why I'm even on YouTube, and that's to discuss writing stories, trying to mix with other authors and see what they're doing. I believe we can work together and help each other, sort of like an association or a group. We all kind of want the same thing. We're all interested. So anyway, tonight I was thinking about an important concept to most writers, and that's the idea of where do we get ideas for stories, and is there anything that we can do to go looking for ideas? Well, I think that's pretty doggone important, to have a plan on where you can turn to for ideas. I think from the morning when you wake up, all day we're subjected to input of all different kinds. Family and friends and work and television and newspaper and everything else that we look at during the course of the day. The back of the cereal box maybe. And everything has content and subject matter. And so what you have to do is, what I feel anyway, is often I'm inspired by something I'll see and get an idea, and it's kind of a spontaneous thing, and then I'll get an idea for the concept of a story, and it happens regularly because I kind of gear my thinking towards where can I find another good story to tell. This morning, for example, I was kind of thinking about, wow, what kind of story could I dream up today? And I started thinking about what other famous stories, both real life stories and fictional stories there are in the world that people are interested in. And for some reason my mind just landed on Jack the Ripper. And so I went to Wikipedia and looked up Jack the Ripper and read the story just to kind of refresh my mind on it. Over the years I've actually read several Jack the Ripper books. It's a interesting story. It's got gore and people getting murdered in the streets, in the alleys, and the police are trying desperately to find out who's behind it all. There's rumors about who it could be. And I've even seen television shows and motion pictures about Jack the Ripper. There's a famous Jack Palance movie where he plays the Ripper. And there's another famous movie, Time After Time, where H.G. Wells chases Jack the Ripper through time. It's got Mary Steenburgen in it, Malcolm McDowell. You've probably even seen it. And it was a pretty cool twist on the story. They travel in H.G. Wells' time machine to 1985 or whatever it was, the year of the movie, and they land in San Francisco. There happens to be an H.G. Wells exhibit at some museum there in San Francisco. And you know, San Francisco is a great city to have as a background for a story. And so it isn't a complicated story. It almost seems like it all just sort of fell into place once you put the characters there, added the characters to the background, the setting, and it just kind of went on its own. It was a fantastic story. There wasn't any really huge surprises or anything, no dramatic surprise ending or anything like that. As far as mysteries go, it was pretty straightforward. And I've watched that particular movie at least a dozen times and really loved it. The fellow that plays Jack the Ripper has always been one of my favorite actors. He makes a great bad guy. So anyway, today I did put together a little Jack the Ripper story, and I used the story of Jack the Ripper as a part of the story, and then I created some modern day characters. A young man that is on a trip to England as a researcher. He's got a laptop computer that contains a AI assistant named Socrates, and Socrates was actually created by a friend of this young man's who works as a internet technician in a factory or company in the United States. Anyway, so you've got the young man and his AI assistant, and they're in England, and he gets permission to look at the official records in the file of the Jack the Ripper murders. And as he's preparing to look at all the source documents, a young woman comes in, and that's where she's introduced as one of the characters too. So I had my three characters right from the get-go, and they were in a research lab, library-like establishment, and that was where the adventure began. And then I just kind of thought step by step what happens next, blah blah blah, what happens next, blah blah blah. And then to me the ending just became kind of obvious that it was going to be better, that even though they've discovered who Jack the Ripper was, because of who it was, all it was going to do when it was revealed was cause problems. There was nothing to be gained. Nobody that was dead was going to come back to life. It kind of played out in a way that I think most of you that read my story would think, yeah, this kind of was an obvious ending. It's no surprise. But see, that's okay too in an ending. If it comes to a logical ending and the reader isn't surprised, that's okay too. You can have different types of endings to a story. They don't all have to be climatic, earth-shaking, shocking endings or surprise endings. A lot of times your story just plays out like it makes sense, like you thought it would. Maybe even see the ending coming when you're only halfway through the book or story. So anyway, I took my idea and I banged off 8 pages. It seemed to flow pretty good. It all made sense. It was kind of reminded me of a 60s or 70s TV episode of some show, you know, Alfred Hitchcock or one of those type of shows. The story wasn't a fantastic earth-shaking story. I don't expect to get a Nobel Prize for writing it. As far as originality goes, it falls in there with hundreds, if not thousands, tens of thousands of other stories. It wasn't something that the critics are going to be putting on the front page of the newspaper or magazines. It's just a story. Kind of something that you enjoy for 20 minutes, and then you move on to the next story. You know, it's like television shows. Once you've watched them once, it's fun to watch them again, maybe 3 times, but I mean, how many times are you going to go over the same story? So anyway, a lot of the times I'll write an 8-page story that's only intended to entertain somebody for 15 or 20 minutes, and then toss it away. like eating a can of peanuts. Once the last nut is eaten, the can's empty. So it's time to go get another can. Anyway, my thinking is that when you write a story, it doesn't have to be War and Peace or The Wizard of Oz or some fantastic story that people will remember for the rest of their life. All your story has to do is entertain for the time that the reader is reading it. And if you can leave them something at the end to think about a little bit, a moral or a lesson, then that's the best way to end them as far as I'm concerned. When I ended the story that I made up today, a little 8-page story about Jack the Ripper, at the end there was a moral. We could probably sit around and talk about the moral to the story for longer than it took to read the story. The lesson about how people in the government kind of injected themselves into the situation and didn't want the story to be released to protect certain powerful people. And was it right? Not really. You know, instead of telling the truth and revealing the real story of what happened, it was kept under wraps to protect the system. And you know, that's something that's happened over and over and over again in civilization for 5,000 years. In order to protect the powerful, to protect law and order, to protect civilization, many a lie has been told. So, yes, today's story I made up had a moral at the end. I thought it came together pretty well, really. There was nothing extra special. It was just kind of an average story. The subject matter was good because it involved Jack the Ripper. It was a mystery. It had young characters in it and included a electronic character in the form of a AI assistant. So it had all the elements. It wasn't a great story, but it was a good story. And I'm adding it to my next volume of series that I'm writing. I'm currently working on volume number 8 of a series called Bits and Pieces of Stuff. I've already published 7 volumes that are on Amazon. They're short stories. Most of them are 3 to 10 pages in length. Something that takes you 10 to 20 minutes to read. Enjoy it. Enjoy the thinking about it at the end for a few minutes. And then you proceed on to whatever else you were going to do. Go vacuum the carpet or whatever it was. Make some cookies or have dinner or something. So anyway, the purpose of a story is just for entertainment first, and then maybe you can learn something along the way. Now, as far as ideas go, I've got a beautiful set of encyclopedias, and when I really run short on ideas, I'll pull out a volume of my encyclopedias and just start looking through it until I find something that piques my interest. And then I try to think of what kind of angle can I put on this that'll make it an interesting story. So you find your stories everywhere. You're surrounded by material. You don't have to look that hard to find good story ideas because they're right there in front of you already. You just have to look at them and turn them around and think about them a little bit. So anyway, tomorrow I'll be putting up a short video of my story I made up today just to show you. I only invested about 2 hours in the story, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's kind of fun. So anyway, thanks for stopping in tonight. Keep on writing and keep on believing in yourself, and you'll do it. See you next time, my friend.